liberty, and justice for all.
Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
We do. So based on the end of the last week's meeting, we had a change in representation to the Budget Committee. So there's an action about Jim and Bill Chapin. That swap is discussion and action item. And there's a strike through or table. The Teamsters weren't able to get their group to ratify this week. They're scheduled to ratify it next week. So that's off the agenda.
Okay.
Can I ask a question before we, and it's only, I got a call on the way in, so an email went out today about this meeting, which is great, and that the person asked if this was properly noticed, they hadn't seen anything before, and I assumed it was, but I told them I'd ask the question.
Yes, it was posted by our regular procedures. The email went out late, but it was posted at the Cracker Barrel, it was posted at the Villager counter, but the email did not go out.
I figured as much, but I just
But it was
wanted to make sure I
It's
asked.
sort of an off-scheduled meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Any correspondence?
In the folder, as I mentioned last night at the Budget Committee, Michelle and I worked with the board's direction with Doug Hall to create a Hopkinton School District budget based simply on adequacy aid. And that has been going around in the presentation, but Doug gave me notice that it's going to be in the Concord Monitor on Sunday, so I gave a copy of that letter in there.
This upcoming Sunday?
Correct, that's what
Okay, great.
Doug has noticed, that he believes it's going to be in the Monitor. So
Okay.
just a little heads up.
Excellent. Looking forward to seeing that. And there were no sets of minutes in this package, seeing as it's a sort of an off-schedule meeting. And right now, we're at that first point of public comment. Rob, thanks for joining us tonight. If there's anything you'd like to share with us tonight at this point in the meeting, we'd love to hear from you.
Just came to visit.
Just came to visit. You and all your best friends, right?
Yeah.
All right, then comments from the Hopkinton School Board, seeing as we don't have our student reps here tonight. Norm, I'll start with you.
I just want to say thank you to Michelle and Steve and Billy last night for doing a great presentation to the Budget Committee. You did a great job. Steve, your energy was great. Michelle, you were right on top of all the answers, and I thought it was a good presentation to them, and look forward to the next one. So thank you to all three of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jim?
I got nothing tonight.
Nothing. All right. I'm all set tonight, Matt.
All set.
Okay, great. We'll continue to move on to our business. We have no presentation and staff reports, items for board discussion. The HEA contract, Steve, I'll turn that over to you briefly for a quick
Sure.
where we are.
Very much appreciate learning through this process. About 13, 14 meetings collaborative with the HEA negotiating team. Lots of work. Matt, Liz, thank you so much. Michelle, thanks for running numbers a million times. So we, both teams came to an agreement on Friday and bring it forward for ratification. The HEA ratified on Tuesday afternoon, and so the last step in this process is the board ratification.
Great, thank you very much. And that is an action item this evening. So if everybody have any questions for Steve or myself at this point, or Matt, at this point in public, and we'll take care of that action item when we get down to our action items tonight. How's that? Okay.
Are we gonna get into any more discussion on what's in the contract for the public discussion?
Not until it's voted. We can't do that until it's voted on. Yeah.
So in communication with Tom Berry, negotiations doesn't end until after the board ratifies. And then it becomes a public document. So I did check with Tom about that process, because like you had mentioned, did it end at the negotiating team? So everything up until the board vote is still considered negotiations. And if it, for example, if it did not ratify, then you actually have to work with the team and figure out what becomes public. But it is, as soon as it's ratification, whatever you'd like to discuss, or Liz would like to discuss. But until then, it's still considered negotiations.
So if there are questions, we could go to non-public?
Correct. If there's more information or there's questions that you need to have, so you have all the information that you need. And actually, in talking with Tom, negotiations is really a non-meeting item.
Yeah, so.
Right, so you could really suspend the meeting and have a different meeting or post a non-meeting, but there's no need, it doesn't, all the qualifications of a meeting, 91A, right? Did we get that one?
You got that one.
91A. And so, Tom, typically districts do 1A, I mean, the A because it's compensation, but it actually falls under the non-meeting, there's no minutes taken or things like that.
Yeah, okay.
But if you would like to suspend the meeting and have a non-meeting, or talk about this, you're welcome to, but if you have all the information, whatever I can do.
Does everybody have all the information they need for the action item tonight?
I do, and I guess and maybe do it after, I guess if I were to want to talk about the way I would vote on it, it's hard to do so without, I guess you can't speak to the contract to explain a vote that one might take until after the vote's taken, so which is fair, I get it, okay.
And I did check with Tom.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
Just a
that.
slightly
That
different
does make
process,
sense.
right. All right then, we'll move on to just formalizing, Steve, the change in the Hopkinton Budget Committee representation that we spoke of. And so in speaking with Jim, tonight we have an action item to essentially appoint Bill Chapin as our representative to the Budget Committee after discussions with Jim at our last meeting and his request to step back from presenting the budget this year. We felt it was best to formalize at this point that change in representation on that committee so that the Budget Committee also knows that the school board formally made that appointment. So although it doesn't say action item, it is an action item tonight, okay? So if anybody has any questions about that, this is more just a formality or sort of codification of what we made the decision to do last week. But it's all captured in minutes and of course on camera.
The best part is Billy's not here to say no.
It worked out
It worked out
Did that
perfectly.
just right, exactly. So no, Jim, and thank you very much for your representation this year and certainly understand where we are right now with it, and very appreciative to Bill to step up and
Yeah, that's
take on
great.
that role at this point, and finish that off. So, does anybody have any questions about that process? It's merely accepting Jim's resignation and then appointing Bill. So,
Perfect.
you're all set. Rob, we've reached the second place of public comment already. Have you had
Very
enough
quickly.
time to think up something for us?
Never realized that you were as efficient as this. The most amazing.
Yes, it was efficient. So, well, having an extra meeting tonight, the goal was to come in and be able to address those things that we needed to take care of. So at this point, there are one thing I will tell you: look at all those dates on that important list of important dates. My calendar looks like a bowl of jelly beans right now with all the different colors on it. So at least for the next 6 weeks, and so just make sure that we all have those captured. And if for some reason there are any meetings there that any of you cannot attend, if you could just let Steve or myself know in advance. Like Matt, I know you've got some. I'm out for a week and a half. So just so we know and we make sure well in advance we have enough representation at all the meetings.
And that's very germane for next Thursday,
Mhm.
because both Matt and Liz won't be able to attend. So I can, as long as you two, I'll check with Billy. It is a ratification meeting of the Teamsters contract. So we just, without the two members of the negotiating team there, we just have to make sure.
I will be able to call in that
Okay.
night. I'll be still in the United States.
That will work.
Yeah.
That will work.
Okay, yeah,
Or at
so
least for that
I
portion
can
of the
call
meeting.
in that night. I'll
Yeah.
be down south, so.
This is the
And I mean
16th,
south of
right?
Nashua.
Correct.
I'll be south of Nashua, okay?
Are you okay?
I'm good, I'll be here.
Yeah,
All right,
okay.
Thank you. And
All right, good.
Norm's
And
good. I'll check
we'll
with
double
Bill.
check with Bill on that as well. Okay, so we'll move into action items. I'll take a motion for the Hopkinton School Board to ratify the tentatively agreed upon contract with the Hopkinton Education Association.
So moved.
1 second for discussion, real quick. Just want to say thank you guys for working so hard on the contract and coming to a resolution agreement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, and we can discuss it after.
Great, okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm going to finish this action item and then go back to the contract, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because I think that will probably
Yeah.
take a little bit longer. So the next action item is, I'll take a motion for the Hopkinton School Board to accept Mr. O'Brien's resignation from the appointment as school board representative to the Hopkinton Budget Committee.
So moved?
Second.
And Jim, any discussion? Jim, thank you again for all your
Oh,
service. It's been a lot of meetings, I know. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Take a motion for the Hopkinton School Board to appoint Bill Chapin Jr. as school board representative to the Hopkinton Budget Committee.
With pleasure. I'll move that.
So, second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And I want to thank Billy for stepping
And
up.
we'll
It
thank
is,
Billy
yeah.
again for stepping up, so.
That's good.
So just circling back to the contract, and thank you all for all your support. I want to especially thank both negotiating teams came to the table which seems to be months ago, and it was months ago.
Yeah.
We had how many meetings that we talked about? 13
13 with them, and
meetings.
and we had another 5 or 6.
It was incredibly fruitful conversation, discussion, understandings, things like that. It was very interesting. It was very, very collaborative, negotiation, and I really appreciate everybody on their team and coming together with us and working together. We spent a lot of time on numbers in this negotiation. Michelle worked a lot with revising spreadsheets and things like that. So there is a revised FAQ. There's an FAQ that gives the details of the contract, but what we really, do you want one, Matt, before I?
Sure, yeah.
Matt Stone, do you need one?
Sure.
You better can just pass these around.
Yep.
You've got it memorized, I'm
Yeah.
sure. I am sure. So,
I'll give-
we came to an agreement that is a 3-year agreement, which, the only stipulation in it, of course, is that it automatically reopens negotiations on healthcare, as may be dictated by, obviously, by the Affordable Care Act's Cadillac tax, which has been an issue in prior ones too, but we haven't really had to do much work with that at this point in time. So the salary increases for the 3 years were 2.75% for each year of the contract. The most significant movement, and again, a huge thank you to both teams for working really hard at this, was to create cost share over those 3 years with our Teachers Association. Healthcare was a focus. I think that both teams felt that it was something that was negotiable, and the cost share for the first year is a 3% cost share, a 5% the second year, and then to 7% in the third year. So 3%, then 2%, then 2% gets us to 93.7 by the end of those 3 years. So we're very appreciative to the Teachers Association for really understanding where we're coming from with feedback from the community over the last several years. That they felt that cost share was something that should be a priority of our future negotiations. We really took that to heart, and we feel really worked with the Teachers Association to negotiate a contract that we felt was really fair and in the best interest of everybody. It's always challenging on our side of the table, I think, with the number of stakeholders that we have at the table, or that are at the table with us, including community members, as well as our teachers, because many of them are not only part of our community, but we consider our teachers part of our community, whether they live here in town or not. And I think that's something this community has always been incredibly supportive of our teachers and our staff, with all of our district employees. And so I felt that these negotiations were incredibly respectful of all of those aspects of the community as a whole. So the total cost of the CBA on the warrant will be in year 1, $307,669.45. In year 2, $315,149.32. And in year 3, $309,461.62 for a total of $932,280.39. We did have some language changes. We spent a lot of time on language as two teams together, and we feel that we have made some really, really incredible investments in what we're doing and what we can provide in the district. And so some of these things may be seen immediately into the community when the contract goes into effect. Other things are sort of behind the scenes, if you will, but definitely impact the quality of the environment in which our teachers teach, and the building environment and atmosphere, so and culture. So I won't go through every single one of those items on the language, but we have created, I think, something with Steve's sort of initiation and sort of a response from the Teachers Association of some regular curriculum review and development sessions, which will take and convert one PD day to multiple times throughout the year that make up a day, so that it is reviewed more often than just, say, one full day a year. And I think that's great progress for on both sides of the table to be able to have some consistent sort of review of that practice throughout the year. One of the things that we felt was really important to our community was to have the presence of teachers at school events, at certain school events. So we agreed that, that there will be one event during the year that teachers in each of the buildings will attend. And I think that speaks a lot to the fact that the community likes to have their teachers present for those events. And I think it says a lot to the teachers that they should be included. They want that people want them included in those things, and it's very important that they're there. So that inclusivity, I think, is really important to, again, to the culture of our schools. So the high school teachers will attend graduation, and then the teachers in the elementary schools will attend either a Meet the Teacher event or another extracurricular event. So I think that's going to be a great practice for us to establish here in the district. We changed a timeline in the grievance procedure, revision to some teacher meeting requirements during prep periods. Those are some of the behind-the-scenes things that you may not hear directly from students themselves or parents, but certainly very important to the culture in the schools. We changed a little bit of reduction in force language and some 403B information. So I think that probably one of the things that was really important to the parties at the table was some changes to the school calendar, and because the board approves that calendar once it's been developed by Steve and vetted out through a group of both community members, teachers, and some staff. And so what we have agreed to is not beginning before the fourth Monday in August. So if there was discussion about blizzard bags around the table, and so we've decided that we'll leave that out there for discussion, and if there is movement for blizzard bags, that a joint task force will be formed to basically look at, evaluate, and put together that concept into more of a formal program. So we did that, and then the other change was to the early retirement program, and changes to give priority for those who've given 25 or more years to service in the Hopkinton School District. So those were the major language changes that we had. Does anybody have any questions specifically about any of that? Again, I want to thank the teachers and the negotiation team representing HEA. I think the group was incredibly, everybody at the table was incredibly invested in getting to a contract with both parties. That everybody could be really, really proud of, and I think very fair to the community, and I'm really excited and committed to moving this contract to the community.
The only thing, I didn't catch it because new staff start at 93.7, right?
Mhm.
Correct. No, I didn't mention that.
So
You're
if you wanna
right.
just
That
touch
was
on
that
that.
one thing. So on the cost share for the insurance, we did negotiate that anybody starting July 1, 2020 will immediately start at 93.7 instead of having the tiered reduction to cost share, if you will. Thank you. I forgot that
No
little
problem.
piece.
I didn't know.
Thank you.
what it was.
Yeah.
So,
Does anybody have any questions? Norm, you're
no, just like, what's the savings for the health insurance for the first year? Just,
oh,
Just-
I
just-
didn't bring that sheet with me
I
tonight.
just wanted to just have some numbers real quick.
Yeah, we can get the 3-year details.
Yeah.
54,916.
I mean, can I just comment on it a little bit?
Mhm.
The town, one of the biggest things that a lot of people were concerned about was the health insurance, the district paying 100%. And I think what's really good about this contract is that we're finally dipping into something that's a variable expense. It's always going up. It's a driven factor for the school district, and it's comparable. I love our teachers. They do a fantastic job with our kids and the leadership. But we have to be careful. Our tax rate. We've talked about this before, but it's something we have to be looking at 3 years how this affects us. But it's something that, as a new board, we have to figure out, Steve. Three new board members coming on. We have to take what was agreed. If it's agreed with the town, fantastic. But we have to look moving forward, making sure that we're able to monitor our school tax rate. It's very important.
Any other questions? And I just have one more comment. Jim?
I don't have any questions,
Okay.
but do you want to ask a question?
No,
I
my
make a
comment was,
but-
one of the questions we do often get is what happens if the contract does not pass?
Yeah.
Essentially, we stay put. So, everything would remain the same, including the district paying 100% of health insurance. So it's really important for, I think, people to understand that, but I'm very confident that a 3-year contract with the teachers is the right thing at this point, and I feel that we have done a tremendous job working together as a group with them at the table to really develop what I consider to be an incredibly fair and sound contract, and I'm confident that the community will see the movement that we've made, that they had really given us a lot of feedback on over the last few years. So I think that I do feel that we've done a tremendous job sort of getting to a point where we've made some we've responded to what the community had really given us as input.
So, I mean, I guess my comment is I agree with you. I think this is, I think it's movement in the right direction on health insurance. I think it's setting the right salary increases. And for me, as we think about where we're going with the budget committee and where we're going at town meeting, I see sort of the passage of this as being at least my top priority as we move forward. And I just think about at the end of last meeting, we talked about what's the order as we put things on the warrant. And I would like to see, in my opinion, we put this forward first, have this be our first warrant that we discuss. So I think, supporting their teachers, ensuring that the contract passes, that we have, I think moving into next year and forward, having good relations with the teachers. To me, that's the most important thing that I can see coming out of our town meeting early. And so I would, as we finalize the warrant and we think about the order that we place them in, I would feel good and recommend that this be our first order of business at town meeting. I think it will be received well by the public. I think it will be a good conversation. And as we get into a budget discussion, sometimes budget discussions get a bit heated, and this year it may get a bit heated, and I'd rather remove the teacher's contract from the budget discussion and not have it sort of fall victim to whatever may happen in that discussion. But talk about this contract first as a priority. I shouldn't say top priority because there are many, but as a priority.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that input. Well, and because we hope that we'll be meeting again next week with the possibility of the ratification of another contract, then we'll after that be discussing sort of the nuts and bolts of the school district meeting and the warrant articles that we have. Any other comments, Matt? Any comments from your
No,
side
only
of
echoing what Jim
the
was
table?
sharing. I mean, I do think, Liz, you did a phenomenal job on behalf of the board and others negotiating this contract.
It is a team effort,
You-
Steve
but
and
it was,
Michelle.
it was, you could
It's
tell.
more than a team effort. They're carrying the heavy bats.
Yeah, but it was, you guys very
numbers.
student-centered, and I appreciated being a part of that and learning from you all. So, but just echoing Jim, that this is very, very important, and would like to see this as one of the first things that we discuss at town meeting.
Steve, do you have any comments on the process?
It was good. It was long, hard, 14 meetings, which was a lot. We started in July. One of the tenets of negotiation I learned from Todd and Mitchell, successful negotiations is relationships either improve or stay the same. I think we met that standard. I think we started out collegial, we ended collegial, and I think that is a tremendous asset. And strong labor relations in a school system like this is you can't put a price tag on it. So I appreciated the tenor, Matt's and Liz's leadership, Michelle's work, hard but good, and about trying to make progress and do it in a fiscally responsible way.
Great, thank you. Anything else for our, and Michelle, do you have anything you want to share? Add?
No, thanks.
It's your opportunity, right? Anything else that we need to do at this meeting tonight? And if not, I'll adjourn this. Do we have a need for a non-public session?
No, so just to make sure, so I will put this up tonight, tomorrow morning, put it up in the support materials. And there was a request from a budget committee member. Would you like me to send it to Janet? the
For them
chair,
to receive this?
before next week? Sometimes we present it.
Yeah, if we're
before-
making it
before.
public, sure.
Yep.
I mean,
So I'll do that
we've all
tomorrow.
seen it, as long as everyone's all okay
Oh,
with
yeah.
what's on here.
All right, so I will,
No
I'll put it up
typos.
tomorrow and we'll send it. I think it's, well, you can let me know when I've had a bad typo day, so. So yeah, I'll get it up in the next 24 hours and we'll send it to the budget committee
Okay.
and we can speak to it next Wednesday.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, everyone, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Can I
Jim.
just, because I wasn't there, I'm just curious how Norm said the presentation went well. I'm just curious, Any feedback from the budget committee or anything
Some
that
good
anything of
questions.
note?
Questions about Medicaid schools, questions about adequacy, some good questions. We'll have the complete budget bulletin next week because of just the timing and the last week. I thought, really thoughtful questions. I think they appreciate it, so I thought it was positive.
Good.
Which, everybody understands the challenge of the next 2 years. And one thing I did learn, because I wasn't aware that the select board is doing another bond. That came up last night.
Yes, yeah, for pretty much another road bond.
Yeah.
Actually, you shouldn't even call it a road bond. It is a fixing culvert bond, similar to one we did 3-4 years ago, that ballpark.
And Rich Houston mentioned that he would ask the district and the building committee to look at a different approach to the building bond, which would provide some capacity or some lower values for that bond. So he requested that some bond runs at a level debt versus level principal, that would start out lower. And of course, we'll oblige, but you understand, it's a building committee, a school board decision.
And we
But
looked
yeah.
at that, right, Michelle? And
We
it was-
did.
It was more expensive.
Oh,
to go
yeah,
there.
and so that's the plan, is to give them the copies of the ones that we
Yeah.
looked at.
That'd be helpful.
He was interested in, from my sense of his comments, were trying to, in the long term, he was really worried about the initiation of another bond from the town. And could we lower this bond to at least at the beginning, not double it? I mean, that was my sense, even though Michelle did a great job saying that if we do that, over the life of a level debt bond, it's significant, more
Yeah.
expensive than a level principal bond. But yeah, I wasn't, and Neil and I spoke quite a bit, he didn't mention it to me either, that there was another bond going through the town. through
Oh,
the
that's
select board.
interesting. I'm sorry if I didn't report it. And I think it's 2.2 million. I think the intent is for a 10-year run. Pretty much, it's I wouldn't say it's the same because it's for different things, but it's
Same
similar to the road project that went through. And we had started, say the select board started originally thinking of a higher number to put some additional road mains. We have received a spreadsheet that has, I don't know, it's upwards or more than $7 million sort of in road projects that need to get done. And so it's been a struggle for how you fit that in. We had originally put additional dollars into our operating budget to do some of the culvert work. I think it was like $390,000. Again, the number's wrong. But we would have gone to town meeting with like a 15 or 16% budget increase if we tackled the roads that way. And so while I think bonding wasn't anybody's favorite way to go forward, thinking of going, sort of setting a new standard at, $390 or $400,000 a year for culvert, didn't feel like the right way to go. So the bond sort of enabled us to do the work, stretch it out, pay for it over time, and try to get all the projects done early.
What is the life of a culvert, for instance? I mean, like a roof.
Just
curious.
30, 40 years
It
if
is
it's
that
done,
long?
if it's
Okay,
done
I
right.
was just curious,
And,
yeah.
now the culverts that we're replacing are more the pipes, the steel pipes that you
Mhm.
see, the corrugated
Just
pipes, and
deteriorate
they've
over
been
time.
deteriorating. So a lot of culverts now are the concrete box culverts, which have a longer life expectancy.
Like the one they put in on Briar Hill?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
okay.
better engineered,
Yeah.
sort of more modern
Interesting.
culverts, but they still don't last forever, but they have
Yeah,
a
but they're better, they're longer, okay. I was just curious.
And Ken did inform the budget committee that it was down to 2.2.
Yeah.
So he mentioned
Yeah.
that last time. But I think overall it was a good budget. It was,
Yeah, no, they just did a great
it was about 2
Great
hours.
job.
We'll come back with talking about HEA, more of the budget bulletin, and more questions. And then they have 5 or 6 questions.
Great, thank you all for your time tonight. I know this was
Thank you.
an unscheduled meeting, so, but thank you, I appreciate it. Appreciate the support too on the HE negotiations, so thank you all.
Great.
So Teamsters next week. Okay.
They have to ratify first.
Yep,
Okay.
it'll be next Thursday.
So we'll know, you'll know.
And I'll do the draft of the
they tell us.
FAQs over the weekend. You'll have that prior to.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
You have the conceptual understanding, but I'll have it more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't actually adjourned, are we?
Hmm?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:02?
Second.
Excellent.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all.